Disclaimer: it's inspired by reality, shaped by imagination.
What happens when two powerhouse voices, one a living soul legend who's seen America rise and fall through decades of struggle, and the other a modern superstar who embodies the new face of success, sit across from each other to debate whether the American dream is still alive? On the Jennifer Hudson Show, what began as a celebration of music and hope turned into one of the most talked-about moments of the year. Chaka Khan, never one to bite her tongue, declared that the dream millions chase is on life support, blaming greed, inequality, and a system that's forgotten its people. Jennifer Hudson, graceful yet fiery, pushed back, arguing that her own story proved the opposite, that perseverance, talent, and faith could still move mountains. What followed wasn't just a clash of opinions, it was a collision of generations. The room grew tense as laughter faded into silence. Two women who'd both fought their way up from the bottom now stood divided over whether America still rewards hard work or only power. By the end, emotions ran high, the audience was split, and one of them walked off the set, leaving viewers stunned and social media on fire. The lights dimmed as Jennifer Hudson's familiar theme music filled the studio. The audience clapped and cheered, sensing something electric in the air. Jennifer, radiant in a deep blue dress, smiled as she greeted the crowd. "Today," she said, her voice full of warmth and excitement, "we have a living legend in the house, the one and only Miss Chaka Khan." The applause erupted. The band kicked up a few bars of "I'm Every Woman," and when Chaka walked out, the energy doubled. She wore a bold red outfit, her signature curls framing her face like a crown. Jennifer hugged her tightly, both women laughing as they waved to the audience. It felt like sisterhood, until the conversation took its first sharp turn. Jennifer settled into her chair. "You've seen so much of this country change. We're talking today about the American dream. Do you think it's still alive?" Chaka tilted her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Alive? Baby, it's on life support." The room went still. "The dream I grew up believing in, work hard, play fair, and life will reward you, that dream's been replaced with hustle, hustle, hustle. People out here working 2 jobs and still can't pay rent. That ain't no dream." Jennifer leaned forward, still smiling, but her tone sharpened. "But Chaka, don't you think every generation says that too? My mama used to tell me her generation had it rough too. Yet here we are, living proof that you can come from nothing and still rise." Chaka's eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. "Jennifer, I love your story, but baby, you made it. Most folks don't. You're the exception, not the rule." The crowd murmured. Some nodded with Chaka, others clapped softly for Jennifer. The tension had arrived early, uninvited but undeniable. Jennifer crossed one leg over the other, keeping her composure. "I hear you," she said, "but if we tell people the dream's dead, aren't we giving up on them before they even start?" Chaka chuckled dryly. "Sometimes honesty ain't giving up, it's setting folks free. How you gonna chase something that doesn't exist anymore?" Jennifer turned slightly toward the audience. "But that's the thing," she said, her voice lifting. "I think it still does exist. It just looks different now. Maybe it's not about the house and the picket fence, it's about having purpose, building something of your own." Chaka tilted her head again, her tone calm but cutting. "Purpose don't pay bills, sweetheart." The crowd gasped. Jennifer smiled tightly, refusing to let the jab stick. "No," she said softly, "but it gives you a reason to keep going when everything else tells you not to." A long pause filled the air. The audience could feel it. 2 women, 2 eras, standing at opposite ends of the same dream. Chaka looked over at Jennifer and said, "Then maybe the dream didn't die. It just left some of us behind." Jennifer didn't answer right away. She looked down, then back up with a small nod. "Maybe," she said, "but I still believe it's worth chasing." The band softly played a riff under the silence, like a heartbeat trying to steady the room. The studio lights glowed warmer as the audience clapped, hesitant at first, then louder. Both women smiled, but it wasn't comfort. It was respect wrapped around disagreement. The spark had been lit, and everyone knew it was only the beginning. The moment the audience's applause faded,
Jennifer leaned back and took a slow breath. Her smile stayed warm, but her eyes had sharpened just a little. Chaka, you've seen a lot of America, toured every corner, met folks from all walks of life. Isn't there still some of that dream out there? I mean, people finding joy in small things, building lives that matter? Chaka crossed one leg over the other, her red heels glinting beneath the lights. Jennifer, baby, joy and dreams ain't the same thing. People can be happy, sure, but that's survival. The dream was about thriving, about a system that worked for the little man. That's gone. The audience murmured again, their faces torn between admiration and discomfort. Jennifer nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of the words. So you think it's completely dead? Chaka let out a long sigh. I think the American dream died when greed became a virtue, when people started measuring success by followers and not by the hearts they touch. She leaned closer. Now it's every person for themselves, and the ones who make it to the top pull the ladder up right behind them. Jennifer smiled, but it was tight, reflective. That's a fair point. But I guess I've always believed that even when the system's broken, we can still build something better. You did that too. You broke barriers. You created your own space. Chaka's laugh came quick, sharp, and full of irony. Yeah, and I paid for it. Don't get it twisted, sweetheart. I fought for every inch. Nothing was handed to me. And when I look at today's world, I see kids being told they can be anything, but no one tells them how hard the fight really is. Jennifer folded her hands in her lap. So what's the message then? Give up? Chaka raised an eyebrow. No, ma'am. The message is wake up. Stop waiting on a dream somebody else sold you. Build your own. The audience clapped at that, an unexpected mix of cheers and agreement. Jennifer turned to them with a smile. And I love that energy. But don't you think building your own dream is the American dream? Isn't that what our parents and grandparents did when they had nothing but grit? Chaka's tone softened for a beat. Grit's beautiful. I respect it. But I just think people deserve more than grit. They deserve fairness, opportunity, a system that don't chew you up and spit you out when you're not lucky enough to go viral. Jennifer folded her hands in her lap. I hear you. But I also think there's a danger in losing faith in what's possible. Because once you stop believing, you stop trying. The air shifted. There was admiration in Jennifer's tone, but also quiet defiance. The crowd picked up on it. Some clapped, some stayed still, torn between two truths that both felt right. Chaka smiled knowingly. You're a dreamer, Jennifer. That's a beautiful thing. But I'm a realist. I've lived long enough to know dreams without structure are just bedtime stories. Jennifer chuckled, shaking her head. And I've lived long enough to know realists sometimes forget to dream. The audience roared, half in laughter, half in awe of the tension rising like slow thunder. For a moment, both women sat there, two powerful voices, two worlds apart, but speaking from the same wound. Then Jennifer shifted the energy. Let me ask you something, Chaka, she said, her voice steady. Do you think maybe the dream isn't dead, it's just changing? Maybe the next generation doesn't want the same dream we did. Chaka leaned back and thought for a second. Maybe, but change doesn't mean it's better. Sometimes it means we lost something precious along the way. Jennifer nodded, leaning forward with compassion. Then what would it take to bring it back? Chaka's answer was simple, but it hit hard. Start caring about people again. The audience fell silent. Chaka's words hung in the air like a gospel note. Jennifer swallowed and said softly, That's something we can agree on. For a brief moment, there was peace, a flicker of unity. But it didn't last long. Jennifer smiled and said, But I can't help but believe the dream's still breathing. You know why? Because people like you and me are proof it can be done. Chaka tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. Or maybe we're proof the dream only works for a lucky few. The band's low hum underscored the tension as both women looked at each other, neither willing to blink first.
The audience leaned forward, knowing the conversation had shifted from polite disagreement to something deeper. The clash wasn't about money or fame anymore. It was about belief itself. And neither Chaka Khan nor Jennifer Hudson was ready to let that go.
The studio felt quieter, the energy thick, as Jennifer Hudson leaned back in her chair, her eyes fixed on Chaka Khan. The applause and murmurs of the audience had faded to an expectant hush. This was no longer a discussion about ideas, it was personal. Chaka, Jennifer began softly, I get it. I hear what you're saying about the system being broken, about fairness being missing, but let me tell you something personal. She paused, her voice trembling just enough to catch everyone's attention. I grew up in a neighborhood where the odds were stacked against you from day one, where the American dream felt like a story in a book, not something you could touch. My mama worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, and every day I watched her sacrifice everything she had so I could chase something better. The audience shifted in their seats. You could feel the room leaning in. Chaka's eyes softened just slightly as Jennifer continued. I know what it feels like to struggle, to feel like the system is against you, but I also know what it feels like to fight and win, even in small ways. I am living proof that the dream, maybe it's changed, maybe it's harder, but it's not dead. Chaka Khan crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful, but her tone remained cautious. Jennifer, I feel you. I really do. I've been there. I came from nothing too. Singing in tiny clubs, scraping by, trying to make my voice heard, but the difference is back then, even when it was hard, you could see a path. You could see that if you gave your heart, the world might answer back. Nowadays, people give everything and still get nothing. They don't even see a path, Jennifer. Jennifer leaned forward, her hands clasped together. But don't you think that's what makes the fight worth it? Even if the path is small, even if the world seems stacked against you, if you keep pushing, you still have a chance. I see kids today innovating, creating, lifting themselves up. That's the new dream. Chaka shook her head slowly, her voice quiet but charged. You're talking about exceptions again, baby. The few who make it, the few who survive. What about the rest? The kids in neighborhoods with no schools, no mentors, no opportunities? The dream is a word they've never touched. Jennifer's eyes glistened. Then we fight for them, Chaka. We make sure they can touch it. That's why we tell these stories. That's why we shine a light on the struggle. The audience erupted into applause, but it was different this time. Respectful, almost reverent. People were hearing truth, passion, lived experience from 2 women who had walked the road themselves. Chaka's gaze softened further. I can respect that, Jennifer, but don't sugarcoat it. The system is broken. People are fighting a war they didn't even sign up for. Jennifer nodded slowly. I'm not sugarcoating it. I know it's hard. But if we stop believing, even for a moment, then the dream is dead. And that's something I can't accept. Not for myself, not for anyone. Chaka leaned back, a faint smile breaking through the tension. You're stubborn, she said, half laughing, half grim. I can see that. You got fire. I respect that. But fire alone doesn't change the system. It just keeps you warm while you fight. Jennifer's voice softened. Maybe. But warmth matters too, Chaka. It keeps hope alive. The camera panned across the audience. Some faces were nodding in agreement with Chaka's realism, others inspired by Jennifer's optimism. The energy in the studio was raw, emotional, palpable, like standing at the edge of a storm. Chaka's eyes met Jennifer's, and for the first time, there was a flicker of shared understanding. 2 women from different generations, different struggles, both living proof of survival and talent, staring each other down, not with anger, but with truth. And then Chaka leaned in slightly, her voice low but cutting. Hope alone don't fix a broken America, baby. You know that. It's the fight that matters. But I'll give you this. You got heart. That counts for something. Jennifer nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of those words. The audience sat back, almost holding their breath. Both women had revealed pieces of their lives, their struggles, their pain. The conversation had shifted from abstract ideals to raw, human truth. The tension in the room grew heavier, almost unbearable as the next question loomed. Could these 2 strong voices find common ground, or was this collision about to reach a breaking point?
The studio lights felt hotter, the air charged with anticipation. Jennifer Hudson and Chaka Khan sat facing each other, the polite tension of earlier now replaced by something sharper, almost combustible. The audience leaned forward, sensing that the conversation was no longer just philosophical, it was deeply personal. Jennifer's voice usually warm and measured, grew firmer. Chaka, I get your point. I really do. But don't you think the constant focus on what's broken keeps people from trying? If we keep telling everyone the dream is dead, isn't that just giving up for them? Chaka laughed, low and tinged with disbelief. Giving up? Baby, I'm not giving up. I'm telling it like it is. People are struggling under systems that were never built for them. And yet you want to slap a smile on their face and tell them to keep dreaming? That's cruel, Jennifer. Jennifer's eyes narrowed slightly. It's not cruel, it's empowering. People need to believe they can rise above their circumstances or nothing changes. Chaka leaned forward, her voice rising. Empowerment without reality is a joke. You can dream all you want, but dreams don't pay rent. They don't fix schools. They don't change the policies that keep people trapped. Do you know how many kids give up before they even start because nobody's honest with them? You're telling them fairy tales, Jennifer. The audience gasped. A wave of tension swept through the room. Some people cheered Chaka's blunt honesty. Others looked shocked at Jennifer's reaction. Jennifer took a deep breath, her hands gripping the edge of her chair. I'm not lying to them, Chaka. I'm telling them what's possible. You've done it, I've done it, countless people do it every day. We can't just sit back and say the system's broken. People have to believe their actions matter. Chaka's voice sharpened, her eyes flashing with intensity. Jennifer, that's exactly the problem. You think believing is enough, but people are being crushed by realities you can't sugarcoat. Dreams without fairness aren't hope, they're torture. The audience was silent now, caught in the storm. Some leaned forward, hearts racing. The clash between raw realism and fiery optimism had reached a boiling point. Jennifer's jaw tightened, her voice trembling but firm. Chaka, hope is all we have. Without it, we're nothing. People need to fight and dream at the same time. One without the other, it's over. Chaka slammed her hand lightly on the table, not in anger, but to punctuate her words. You know what? You're living in a fantasy, Jennifer. The world's not built that way anymore. Stop pretending it is. The tension snapped. Jennifer's eyes widened and Chaka leaned back, chest heaving slightly, the heat between them palpable. The audience held their collective breath. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a collision of lived experience versus unwavering hope. Then, for the first time, Chaka Khan stood. The room went still. You know what? She said low and firm. I can't do this anymore. Jennifer blinked, confused. What do you mean? Chaka shook her head, her curls bouncing. I came here to speak the truth, not argue with someone who won't see it. Some dreams are gone, Jennifer, and some people won't admit it. I'm done trying to convince you. She turned sharply, walked past the cameras, and strode toward the exit. The audience gasped. Some shouted her name, some clapped in disbelief. Jennifer sat frozen, stunned, as the echo of Chaka's boots against the studio floor lingered like a drumbeat. Whoopi from the sidelines muttered, "That's one way to make a point." The band played a soft, tense riff, filling the silence with a haunting melody. Jennifer remained seated, gathering herself, the studio buzzing with murmurs and camera flashes, capturing every stunned reaction. The clash had ended physically, but emotionally, it hung over everyone in the room, resonating in the audience, the crew, and viewers at home. Outside, social media erupted. Clips of Chaka walking off the set went viral instantly. Fans and critics alike debated who was right, who was wrong, and what the American dream even meant anymore. Hashtags like Chaka Truth and Dreams versus Reality trended worldwide within hours. Back inside, Jennifer finally exhaled, her expression a mix of sadness, respect, and reflection. She turned to the camera, voice steady. Sometimes truth isn't easy to hear, but whether you agree or not, we have to keep talking about it. The dream may be alive, or maybe it's changing, but it's worth the conversation. The audience clapped slowly, some standing, some still in stunned silence, knowing they had witnessed a rare, unfiltered moment of confrontation between two icons, each unafraid to challenge the other's truth.
The cameras panned slowly across the studio, capturing the lingering tension in the air. Chaka Khan had left, Her presence still felt in every corner. The audience sat in a mix of shock and awe, many still clapping, some whispering to their neighbors, trying to process what had just happened. The energy was raw, the kind of electric silence that only a rare clash of icons could produce. Jennifer Hudson remained in her chair, composed yet contemplative. She glanced briefly at the empty spot Chaka had vacated, and then turned to the audience. "Wow," she began, voice calm but full of emotion. That was real. That's the thing about the American dream. It means different things to different people. For some, it's hope. For others, it's a struggle against realities that feel impossible. Both truths matter." The crowd nodded, some cheering softly, some silent, reflecting. Jennifer continued, her hands clasped together. "Today, Chaka reminded us that life isn't always fair, that dreams don't always come easily, and that hope alone isn't enough. But she also reminded us of the power of truth, being honest about what's broken, and not pretending everything is perfect." Jennifer's eyes glistened, a mixture of respect and resolve. "And I hope that even if the dream seems distant, even if the system feels stacked against you, you still find a way to believe, to fight, to chase something bigger than yourself. That's what keeps it alive. That's what keeps us moving forward." A ripple of applause filled the studio. People rose, some to their feet, others slowly clapping, not out of entertainment, but out of recognition. They had witnessed something meaningful, something that transcended celebrity debate. This wasn't just a conversation about music or fame. It was a reflection on life, struggle, and the human spirit. Jennifer smiled softly, leaning back in her chair. "Chaka and I may not see eye to eye on everything, but what I've learned today, and I hope you take this with you, is that conversations like this matter. They remind us that dreams evolve, struggles persist, and truths can coexist even in conflict." The band played a soft, soulful outro, underlining the quiet gravity of the moment. The camera lingered on Jennifer, her eyes thoughtful, her hands clasped gently in her lap. The audience's applause swelled again, a mixture of admiration, respect, and reflection. As the screen faded to black, Jennifer's voice echoed one last time. "Whether you think the American dream is alive or dead, one thing is certain. It's in our hands to keep it moving, to fight for it, and to never stop believing in what's possible." And just like that, the episode ended. Not with resolution, but with the weight of reality, the spark of hope, and a conversation that would continue long after the cameras stopped rolling. The headlines the next morning didn't just talk about Chaka Khan walking off the set. They talked about why, about the struggle, the truth, and the dream itself. Social media exploded with debates, hashtags, and heartfelt stories from viewers who connected with both perspectives. The episode wasn't just a show. It was a statement, a reflection of a nation questioning what it means to dream in a world that doesn't make it easy. If you enjoyed this powerful moment, subscribe for more celebrity showdowns, real conversations, and unforgettable moments on stage. Drop a comment below. What does the American dream mean to you?